You'll find Filipinos in every city in the world, but the country wants to turn the tables and bring more international visitors to the Philippines. But it has an image problem and needs to create a strong, clear brand. So how's it going to do that? Also in this week's programme,
there are 7,107 islands here. Join me for an island hopping tour of the Philippines.
and we take to the streets of Manila to find 5 free things to do in the capital. Hello and welcome to Fast Track with me, Rajan Datar, in the Philippines. Now, to many people outside Southeast Asia, this country is a largely unknown quantity. Unlike its near neighbours, Thailand and Malaysia, it has no easily packaged exotic identity. So, with the country trying to boost its international visitor numbers, it's time to ask, what is the Filipino factor? This national hero, the warrior Lapu-Lapu, certainly had it. In the 16th century, in the spirit of independence, he slayed the explorer, and so the local joke goes, Philippines' first tourist, Ferdinand Magellan. Today's tourists are treated with rather more courtesy than Magellan. Cebu is the country's international tourist hub, and perhaps best known for its family resorts, water sports and diving. But the Philippines receives fewer visitors than neighbours Thailand and Malaysia, and the drive is now on to improve its global image. It's a two-pronged attack: counter the negative publicity and accentuate the positives.
I'm sure you've heard of the bombings and the kidnappings and what have you, and because of this, of course, potential tourists are afraid to come. But actually, these bombings and these kidnappings are very isolated cases.
And the only way to really reverse that perception is to build our credibility. And you can only build that credibility through consistent and continuing good performance.
It was through the Spanish invasion that this town of Argao in Cebu became the birthplace of Catholicism in Asia. And Cebu is home to Cristina Garcia Codilla, a lawyer in her 20s who's fiercely proud of her country's diverse influences.
I see the modern Filipino, the modern Cebuano young individual as a very global citizen, precisely because here in Cebu, for example, there is such a global influence here. We have so many nationalities that come over because of the investment opportunities that are here. And in effect, the Cebuanos and the Filipinos are influenced by that. But the beautiful thing about it is that while we are learning all these new cultures and connecting with the world with the internet and multimedia, we're still very much in touch with our traditions, our religion, and our culture.
4 centuries of Spanish rule, bizarrely from Mexico, has left an indelible mark on religion, the love for festivals, names of places and people, and of course food.
Filipinos like to create occasions so they can have reasons to eat.
Right.
We have fiestas all year round where the main staple would be lechon and native chicken, among others. Filipino hospitality is known all over the world. It is because whether you're in the upper echelons of society or not so much, we bring out the best china, the best food that we can offer so that we will make our guests feel welcome.
Life can be bright in America. If you can fight in America.
The American influence here touches all parts of society. On the one hand, take that lighthouse. Built in 1904, it still functions today, run on solar power. And then there's education. Thanks largely to American reforms, the literacy rate in this country is 97%. On the other hand, the American influence is pretty much in evidence here, with all the trappings of Western consumerist culture. Shopping malls, commercial pop music, which is everywhere, and fast food joints. I'll let you make your own minds up about that one.
If you really break down the Filipino culture, the essence of the Filipino, for me, is creativity, spontaneity, passionate.
Perhaps it's cinema that best encapsulates the struggle between the old and new Philippines. Hollywood blockbusters may dominate the multiplexes, but thanks to the digital revolution, a new wave of Filipino filmmakers are making their mark on the rest of the world, winning awards by focusing on contemporary Filipino themes.
Several years of Hollywood influence and all this stuff takes years to erase. That attitude would also take time to be changed. When you submit films abroad and they see it came from the Philippines, they would really take a second look at it because it has its own brand. It has its own identity, its own style, different from the others.
The owner of this new style lounge bar is convinced the market is right for upmarket hospitality and that Cebu can show the way.
In the last decade, you'll probably see more buildings, more malls. Most people say that Cebu is a progressive city, and I think it is one of the most progressive city and province in the entire Philippines. The security here is very good. The tourism is perfect. Comparing it 10 years ago, we only had maybe a handful of fine dining restaurants. Now, there's an incipience of about 50 beautiful restaurants. It won an Anvil Award, and it was also a finalist for Best Design.
Apart from being an entrepreneur, Billy is also an accomplished photographer and feels the country has the potential to be a bigger draw than all its Asian neighbours.
I'm kind of gung-ho on saying that maybe in the next 10 years, we'll be number one, maybe even sooner than that.
Bigger than Thailand?
Bigger than Thailand.
Bigger than Vietnam?
Yes.
Bigger than Malaysia?
Yes, bigger than Malaysia and bigger than Thailand and bigger than Vietnam. And I think it's going to be even bigger than one of the biggest in the world because we have the resources to do that.
And Billy's views are shared by an American hotelier who runs this exclusive spot in Cebu. Jason Hyatt arrived from Hong Kong 5 years ago. With only 9 rooms, all decked out in locally sourced materials, using a design pattern he calls Filipino heritage, and a restaurant too, Jason employs 120 local people.
You don't have a lot of independent hotels here. And the ones that are in Cebu are really business-based hotels. Here in Mactan, I can't think of anybody other than us, at this level anyway, that's running a boutique hotel, whereas if I go to Phuket, there's 50.
And Jason says the most common comment he gets from visitors is that they didn't realise the Philippines was so nice.
If you watch some major networks, there's always something on Malaysia or India or wherever, and I think that really helps in terms of tourism because you really feel like you want to go there. I think we lack that. I think there needs to be a lot more money spent on not so much advertising, but certainly informational types of programs that really help people to discover what the Philippines is about. I mean, there's tons of history here, right?
But the Tourism Secretary claims there has been an impressive rise in visitor numbers from North Asia in particular, and that it's more cost-effective for this country to focus on its different destinations rather than selling the Philippines as a total package.
As marketers of the country, we have to be realistic as well. Right? At this point in time, it's easier to sell our destinations than the country as a whole. It will always be a mother company, but this mother company is more known for its products.
This is a country addicted to entertainment and fantasy, but there is a genuine belief rooted in the reality of its beautiful beaches and contemporary culture that the Philippines can achieve its dream of being a tourist mecca. Tourism is becoming more and more important to emerging nations around the world, and the Philippines is no exception. The point is to embrace, celebrate, and then promote its diverse origins. OK, let's see what else is making news in the world of travel this week.